Ricardo Tormo circuit can be a bit of a handful for the riders. Over the years, we've seen Fabio Quartararo, Raul Fernandez and Pedro Acosta all win Moto3 races here, and they've been three of the headline makers in the MotoGP paddock so far this season. Welcome to Valencia for the opening race of the day, and we'll start with the main attraction, the FIM CEV Repsol Moto3 Junior World Championship. Last time out in Estoril, we saw Dani Holgado finally become a race winner in the class, but throughout the year we can expect to see plenty of new stars emerge. Steve English and Kiko Giles here at the Ricardo Tormo circuit for the second round of the season. And Kiko, looking set for a really exciting day of action.
If the first round, Steve, is anything to go by, we are going to be in for a treat here. 5 races to come, 2 Moto3 ones. We didn't get the 2 Moto3 ones, of course, last time out.
Nobody could touch him in that Moto3 class in Estoril. We've been waiting for Dani Holgado to really step up to the plate. He did that in Estoril. He actually backed it up in the Red Bull Rookies Cup last week as well with a victory in Arret. It looks like it's starting to come together for him.
It is starting to come together, and he starts on pole here today as well, does Daniel Holgado. So that is one of he is one of the stars of the future. It's a cliche, we know, but he really is going places, and it's exciting to see him now growing stature. You know, he's done all of the hard work last year. He's been unfortunate, but now he's a race winner. I think the floodgates have opened.
Tell you what, Kiko, there's a lot of green all the way around this.
There's a lot of orange on screen right now.
But we had a bit of rain overnight, a bit of rain this morning. You know, it's a tricky track out there once it gets a bit greasy. Off the line, maybe on the green paint as well. We're going to see plenty of action.
We know Valencia's not the easiest
riders give themselves a real chance.
And it's also good to see, we saw on screen there, Paolo Simon, team structures in place and a ladder to climb. No rider that's talented goes by the wayside. Yeah, and a lot of track time for all these riders as well. We saw there Daniel Munoz as well. No points last time out in Estoril, but he is a podium finisher in the European Talent Cup. The Moto3 Junior World Championship season kicked off in Estoril 2 weeks ago with Dani Holgado taking his first career victory. The Gaspar rider will start from pole position today, and after winning last weekend in the Red Bull Rookies Cup, his confidence is high ahead of this 18-lap race. Steve English, Kiko Giles here at the Ricardo Tormo circuit, and Kiko, awful lot to look forward to during the course of this race. This is going to be an absolute humdinger, Steve. I wouldn't want to be putting money on anything apart from the fact that Daniel Holgado is definitely going to be in the mix. Great watch, by the way. Josh Watley, that's a career best 13th grid slot for him, and Watley, we know, always goes quicker in the race. So for all the British fans out there, the next star, Josh Watley, he might well be in contention, and being British, he will naturally be very, very accomplished in dodgy conditions. The track is dry. There is no standing water or damp patches really on the track, but it's the limit. Are you willing to push? As soon as you go out to the curbs, go onto the green paint on the first lap. The first turn is notorious for it here at the Ricardo Tormo circuit in Valencia. You've just got to be a bit cautious on them first couple of laps, and hopefully everyone's going to get through.
You can see our front row of the grid, Dani Holgado leading the way on this siding lap. For these Moto3 riders, Kiko, in this morning's sessions, we actually had a shower of rain that came down as well. It's changed the track conditions an awful lot. And the Ricardo Tormo circuit is very tricky whenever there's that little bit of grease out there.
Yeah, we've seen it so many times, Steve, in the top-level World Championships. How many times has it been raining for the last round? Look, someone else going off already, just seeing what it's like, probably putting a little bit of a feeler out, seeing what the grip levels are like, how much standing water is there. The wind, there is more or less no wind here today. In contrast to yesterday, it was quite breezy. The air temperature is pretty decent, but there's no sun. Yesterday, it was quite a lot of sun. So these are conditions that are vastly different to the Thursday, Friday and Saturday that we have seen so far since we've been down here, Steve. But now, Sunday, it's a bit cloudy. It's a little bit different, and it's a good leveler because, you know, no one's been out in these kind of conditions. There was a little bit of cloudy running yesterday morning, but that was about it.
Yeah, a couple of places to keep an eye out for around this track. Turn 4 was a little bit of a hot spot for an accident, Kiko, but there's quite a few overtaking opportunities as well.
There's a lot of overtaking opportunities. In Moto3, it wouldn't be impossible to get down the inside at turn 1 or turn 2. Turn 4 is difficult, but not impossible. And then you're really looking more towards turn 8 then at the end of the back straight. Turn 11's not too difficult, but then after that it's the run to home where we are now. This is Diogo Moreira and Jose Julian Garcia just looking over his shoulder. They're coming into turn 12. It's a flick right, then it's a flick left, up over the top of the hill and down into that notorious final corner, turn 14. It's a bit of a dive bomb corner down there. That's the flick through 13. And then it's all the way up over the top of the hill. You'll see them sliding it all the way on the final few laps here when the tyre levels just start to drop off a bit. Down the hill, this is it, into that turn 14. It's a bit of a lunge, but it isn't impossible. How many times have we seen the CEV Moto3 lads end up in a load of carnage down here?
Well, you only have to think back to last year. Pedro Acosta was able to pick up 2 race victories. Izan Guevara, of course, went on to win the Moto3 Junior World Championship. They were our 2 race winners last year, but Kiko, when you go back over the years, we've had Brad Binder win here, Fabio Quartararo has won here, Raul Fernandez, obviously Acosta last year as well. There's been so many great riders that have won races in the CEV Moto3 Junior World Championship here in Valencia, and now we're waiting to see who's going to be the next. We've got Dani Holgado on pole position, Diego Moreira on the front row of the grid, and Jose Julian Garcia on the number 20 on the outside of the front row. 18 laps of Moto3 action about to get underway here at the Ricardo Tormo circuit. Just waiting for the red lights to come on. And the riders get ready to start the opening race of the day here in Valencia. Dani Holgado from the poles being able to make a decent start, but Diego Moreira getting into that slipstream now in the run down in towards turn 1. Fast left-hander upcoming, but you can definitely make a move if you want to try and get down the inside. Look at Matsuyama on the number 32. He's up into 3rd spot.
Yeah, great start from Matsuyama, 6th to 3rd. A few riders go off track. Josh Watley was one of them, the number 70, but out front, Holgado, Moreira. Who's out on the inside? That was one of the Munoz boys. Not sure who it was. One of the purple bikes. Everyone looking like they're safety through. A load of riders running off track, but Ivan Ortola's come through as well, Steve. Look at that in 3rd place from 5th, and Joel Kelso then in the mix as well. He actually got a good start, did Kelso, but he's just dropped back in the first couple of corners to 5th. Oh, and down has gone Boazri. That's the 33 of Boazri. He's holding his wrist.
Very easy to have that down into turn 2 in the opening lap of the race. You can see here Dani Holgado continuing to lead in these early stages. Ivan Ortola up into 3rd position. That's Senna Aegis that's gone down along with another rider. It looks like it might have been Luca Lanetta down there. So we've already had 3 crashers in the opening lap of the day, and given the rain conditions we had earlier on today, it is tricky out there. Another rider
that's
down as well.
TMs.
That's Carrera that's gone down as well. So already 6 riders on the opening lap coming a cropper. So it has just shown, Kiko, just how tricky the conditions are out there.
Exactly, you've got to be careful. That's why someone like Joel Kelso, for example, didn't push too hard. He's dropped a couple of places, but that's no problem. He's in the leading group and he's doing well. The problem is for Daniel Holgado. He's the first one who arrives everywhere, but he'll be looking to use that experience that he has in this class from the past couple of seasons and make that pay. On the inside, coming through, was that Ortola on Moreira? Yes, it was. So Ortola is through from 5th to 2nd. At the start of this race, he has got off to a fly. We've only got 18 laps ahead of us, and he's already made up 3 places.
Ivan Ortola chasing down Dani Holgado. Ortola on the 24. He stepped up from the European Talent Cup. You can see the number 80 there, David Alonso, trying to make some progress as well. He's also come up from the European Talent Cup. Both of these riders not awed by the experience, not looking at this as a bit, one rider running by all the way down there. If you run out onto those green painted areas, you will be under the attention of race direction, but it's also, Kiko, really easy to have a crash in these conditions if you run off onto that greasy green paint.
It's very easy. We've seen it already on the first lap. It's exactly what we were talking about just before the race started, Steve. Just take a couple of laps, figure it out. Where's the worst parts of this track for standing water? Where can I start taking liberties? And that's what they've got to do. That's why the guys out front aren't doing such a bad job. They're holding a good pace. They're not pushing too hard at this stage already. They're using a lot of the track, but that's because they know they can. They're starting to build into it.
And you can see here Diego Moreira trying to get down the inside of Ivan Ortola, able to take 2nd spot there on the number 92 machine. Good move by the Brazilian rider. Dani Holgado continuing to lead the way on the number 96 machine. Kiko, you mentioned it earlier on that Holgado's the first to reach all these conditions. He's also able to pick everywhere he wants to go, so he can put himself into the right places out there.
He's got track position, and he really, okay, Moreira's right with him, but he's under no pressure. The race isn't going to be decided in the first couple of laps. We've got a long lap penalty, riders 13 and 32. That is Marco Tapia, and if I'm not mistaken, Takuma Matsuyama, a long lap penalty. I wonder why that is. Were they creeping on the start and finish line before this race went out?
For Matsuyama on the number 32 machine, he's up there in 5th position, and he's now going to have to take that long lap penalty. You lose about 2.5 seconds taking a long lap penalty here in Valencia. Matsuyama actually up in 4th position right now. Yeah. We saw it in Estoril as well, able to drive the pace of groups as well. Ivan Ortola down the inside into turn 1, 3rd, 4th gear through there. Not afraid of trying to make that move. That's Eddie O'Shea that's out. Eddie qualified down the field, needs the experience of getting the miles under his belt. He will get the opportunity to race once again this afternoon, though. There's the long lap penalty board going out. That's for Tapia, number 13, Matsuyama, number 32. It's a big penalty, but at least, Kiko, it's not like the ride-through penalty of old. It's
not the biggest penalty in the world. Alonso with the fastest lap there, just coming up on your screen. A 1:39.6, David Alonso, and he is there in 8th place, so he's not right at the front, but he's picking his way through. His next rider to get ahead of is Joel Kelso, the number 66. So the thing with Matsuyama is I'll get my words out in a moment. This group at the front, these guys, they've got a little bit of a gap over the next one. So Matsuyama, I don't think he'll slot in right at the back of this group, but he's not going to be a million miles off. And as you said, Steve, we have seen him manage to bridge gaps before, like last time out in Estoril. Will he take this time around? I'm not sure. No, he misses it this time.
Well, you only would have seen the board last time around, but for Matsuyama on the 32, he's going to at least drop to the back of this group, potentially onto that second group, and then you need to make sure you're able to get your head down and try and make forward progress all the way through. Matsuyama, he's not afraid of digging in. We saw that in Estoril. He's going to have to do it during this race, but we've seen it time and again here in Valencia that you can bridge those gaps.
And this is another thing as well. Valencia, you can bridge the gaps, but it's also easy to make a gap. There's only one real long front straight with slipstreaming, and Moto 3, that's quite critical. So that's the 32, Matsuyama. He's the one who's got to take the penalty. David Alonso has just gone ahead of Joel Kelso. That puts him up into 7th position as they all fan out and then come back into line into turn 1. Matsuyama in 4th there. He's chasing Moreira. Danny Holgado doing a great job already. Someone off track at the top of the screen. Not sure who that was. But Danny Holgado doing a great job. He's holding the pace. He's not doing anything too rash. Ortola's really doing another good job. He's holding the pace as well. He's going with Holgado. No one's being dropped, but no one's really close enough to make moves, and that's such a Valencian thing here.
Yeah, Holgado on the 96 out in front. He's the teammate of David Alonso on the number 80 machine, on the Gas Aspar machines, and David Alonso is the rider on the move right now. We obviously know that we're going to have the long lap penalties for Matsuyama. That comes up in a couple of corners time, so are we going to see the number 32 jump around that long lap penalty? It's also going to be tricky in that long lap penalty area, because whatever rubber's going down on the track right now, that's only on the racing line. Once you go into that long lap penalty, it could be very greasy through there. There hasn't been a lot of riders using that during the course of the race weekend. Matsuyama does take it this time, so now he needs to make sure he's as quick and steady as he can be through this. You can see Munoz going through, and now he comes out in front of Munoz as well. Daniel Munoz there on the number 17 machine, so slots back in nicely. Matsuyama doesn't lose too much time with that penalty. Now he needs to make sure he's able just to get his head down, try and get onto that group that's got the likes of David Alonso in it, and then bridge yourself back up. Exactly.
He's not lost too much time, really. I mean, okay, he's lost 2.5 seconds, but he's not lost the possibility to be back in the fight for this race. So good stuff from Matsuyama. He took it very well as well. He's not left it too late. He's got it out the way as soon as he's seen it. Across the line we go for the first time, for the next time of asking. Holgado, the number 96, still leading. Ortola is still second. At the moment, it's the status quo. There is a gap forming, but I'm not sure how long that's going to last, because we have seen time and time again, David Alonso has got great pace running around on his own, does it in qualifying, and he does it in free practice. This is going to be the race start. Didn't see any movement there. It's all a bit too fast for that, and also Matsuyama was off just the edge of the screen, but maybe that's why he got such a good start. Maybe he was rolling there. Will be interesting to see if we've got another camera angle of it. He absolutely dive-bombed into turn 1, though. That was Joel Kelso getting the fright of his life. That sat Kelso up, and through came Ortola at the same time. This is another incident. Can't quite say, oh dear, it all happened out screen. Yeah, Boazri just got taken out there. Tachikon Boazri, the Thai rider, by the number 10. I'm not sure if that was the same incident or if it was a separate incident. That is the number 10 of
Nico Carrera there, but very easy down in towards turn 2 for that to happen. We've got 34 riders in the Moto 3 class this weekend, and they all funnel into that one area. At the front of the field right now, Danny Holgado, his pace right now isn't too bad. It's only about a second slower than the qualifying pace, and this is as the riders get themselves used to quite a changed track condition. And we're only in the early stages as well. It's an 18-lap race here in the Moto 3 class. Lots of action all the way through, but Danny Holgado nice and steady at the front of the field. You can see Ivan Ortola on the 24 stepping up from the European Talent Cup Championship last year, and for Ivan Ortola, he's not afraid of being at the front. He likes being at the front. He had lots of podiums last year in the Red Bull Rookies Cup and the ETC.
Oh dear me, who is that? Was that Sho Nishimura off in the background? It was one of the MT77 Foundation bikes. Not quite sure. That was at the last corner. We were saying that, Steve, just as we came in. It was the number 19. That is that's Marossi. Rossi, and it was 29, so it wasn't Nishimura, it was Billy Van Aert, a disaster. So, but we've said that before, the final corner can be a bit of a lunge, a bit of a dive bomb. Everyone's going for the same apex, and that is bound to happen. I'm surprised it's happened with 13 laps to go. Normally, they at least leave it to the last lap.
Well, of course, in these conditions, you can be a little bit offline, and you can just pick up a little bit of grease out there as well. So very easy to lose the front if you are trying to make that move. But you can see at the front, we are starting to splinter off right now as well. The gap between the 92 and number 80 is opening up to around about a second now. So David Alonso needs to get his head down on the number 80 machine, because Diogo Moreira has managed to open up that gap. And once the gap opens up to over a second, it suddenly becomes very difficult to close that gap down, Kiko.
Especially here at Valencia, like we've said, there's only really one slipstream in area. It's hard to make the time up in these corners. The lap, actually, the gap is exacerbated here quite a lot. You know, a second here, it's a lot of time to try and find. This is Alessandro Marossi, so he's back on track, the number 19. Maybe we'll get a replay of what actually happened. That probably might come up soon. Here we go. Let's have a look. So turn 14. Have they gone off in separate? Yeah, they've gone off in separate instances. What's happened there is Van Aert has lost the front, and I think Marossi has panicked, grabbed a little bit of front brake lever, and he's gone down as well. So we've got synchronised front end falls at turn 14. It might be an Olympic sport, Steve, if they carry on like that.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's an expensive Olympic sport, and you can see why the team's a little bit concerned down there. But for all these riders, very easy for that to happen. You can see Ivan Ortola right now, he's happy just to keep that watching brief. We're only a third of the way through the race. A lot of racing still to come. You can see all the riders now starting to push a little bit harder, edge themselves closer to that green runoff as well. Once you touch that green runoff, race direction will take note of it, and if you do it often enough through the course of the race, that's when you get a long lap penalty. They're not afraid of giving the long lap penalties for exceeding track limits.
David Alonso is starting to break the group behind him. Joel Kelso, I think, just hasn't got that pace to run with Alonso, and I think Garcia's gone through as well. He has. So Jose Julian Garcia is now up into 5th place. Kelso back to 6th. Great ride from Kelso, though, nonetheless, with 12 laps to go still. Oh, Zonta van der Gorberg, the ETC runner-up from 2020, has gone down. That's the number 84. Not sure where that is. Looks like, is that the exit of turn 4, maybe? I can't work out where that is. Anyway, he's down and out. We'll pick that up later. But another note, whilst we're saying about Alonso starting to bridge the gap, great ride from Diogo Moreira. We've seen this from him so many times. We know he's got the talent, he's got the pace. It's just about putting all the pieces of that jigsaw together. And he is doing it now. Alonso's coming.
Yeah, for Moreira on the we've got a crash up there as well. And it's going to be very easy for a rider to run right onto that as well. It looks like it's Jared Rio. Everyone able to get their way through there, and we'll wait for Jared to get up onto his feet as well. But that could have been a very scary incident for a lot of riders there. Lucky that we've been able to get through that. But certainly at the front of the field now, Kiko, when you look at Diogo Moreira on the 92, he's had 3 podiums in the Red Bull Rookies Cup so far this season. Now he's trying to get that first CEV Moto3 podium. Looks like he's made that step forward. We know he's got speed.
Yeah, and it's just, you know, sometimes it's all about that inner belief and confidence. It was Gerard Rieu who went off the number 67. It's all about that confidence, Steve. And when you have a good qualifying session, you carry that momentum forward. Then it turns into a good race result. Then you go away thinking, oh, I can actually do this now. And then you build into the next round. And suddenly a bit of consistency and a good run of form can transfix how you approach a weekend, and that's brilliant for Moreira. And it's also good for the championship. He's Brazilian, you know, it's another nationality, it's another continent right at the front, and that's going to be good going forward when he gets to the Moto3 World Championship.
Yeah, not bad to see 2 South Americans up there inside the top 5 as well. David Alonso, of course, the Colombian rider, lots of experience in the ETC, and that's another rider that's gone down. That looks like it's Jose Julian Garcia that's gone down.
It is with Alonso. I was just wondering.
5th position as well. Alonso down too. So it is starting where they're starting to push on now, Kiko, and this is when mistakes can happen. You can see Alonso there. He had been in 4th place. He had been trying to bridge the gap to the riders in front, but hadn't been making progress. Maybe just a
Where's Joel Kelso?
It looks like another rider's down in the double right-hander there. So for all these riders, Kiko, they're just seeing just how difficult the conditions are right now.
We have just lost 4th, 5th and 6th from this race. Incredible turn of events here with 11 laps to go. I was just wondering where Alonso had gone. Then I realised Garcia wasn't there, so I want to see a replay of that if we can, and let's find out what happened. Good stuff from Matsuyama. All of his dreams have come at once. Track limits warning for number 45. We'll pick that up as we come to it. It's a rider further down the field. But great stuff from Matsuyama. He served his penalty, got it all out the way very early on. Now he finds himself back and forth. And great stuff from Josh Whatley. We said about him before this race, he a season's best qualifying, a career best qualifying in 13th. He's up to 9th. He's well inside that top 10. He's keeping his head cool and taking advantage of everyone making mistakes around him.
Yeah, and if you think back to last year, Max Cook was able to do something similar in the early season races as well, and if we're able to see Josh Whatley do that as well, it does bode well for the British rider. You can see here for the Aspar team, I'm sure we're going to get a replay of what happened there in a couple of moments time, but certainly whenever you lose points like that for Alonso, for Garcia, it's just hard whenever Danny Holgado, winner of the opening race of the year, a rider with tons of confidence right now, you're just giving him those extra points. But luckily, there's a second race this afternoon.
There is a second race this afternoon, but the two downsides to Garcia going down and Alonso is Garcia is one of the main title threats this season to Holgado. The downside for Alonso is it's valuable track time. He's losing out on lap time and combative skills in this class. You know, it's not something he's going to be it's not a disaster for him. He's got the rest of the season, but it's experience nonetheless, and sometimes that experience can just give you the edge over the opposition. These guys now, for example, will know how the bike feels over a full race distance. The other guys will not.
Yeah, and certainly as the conditions continue to improve all the way through the weekend, at least that's where what you've done during the course of testing on Thursday, Friday, practice yesterday, you're able to take the knowledge of what to expect all the way through it. This race, a little bit more of a lottery given the rain conditions this morning, but Danny Holgado at the halfway stage, he's led every lap. He hasn't been under too much pressure at this point. We haven't seen the 24 of Ortola try and make a move yet. We haven't really seen Diogo Moreira try and make a move as well. These three riders, I think they're very happy to have a 2.5 second gap behind them to Matsuyama, and they're able just to make sure that they're able to keep that progress all the way. But last time around, they were still able to stretch another couple of tenths of a second off Matsuyama, so this does look like three-way fight at the front.
It's great racecraft, not just from Holgado, but from the two behind him, Ortola and Moreira. You know, they're sitting behind him. They're not being rash. They're not throwing it up the inside. They're not costing each other time. They're running away at the front, a group of three, using the slipstream down the straight to good effect. They've not got any pressure. They don't need to worry about what's going on behind them. They're working together. We'll see how that goes with 3 laps to go. I think the gloves will come off then. But it's a very, very good example of the stars of the future, and they really do cut their teeth, not just in combat, but in racecraft as well. It's top stuff from a lot of them, especially, to be fair, from Moreira. We've not seen him put it together like this, as we're at half race distance and he's still in the mix.
Yeah, for Diogo, he's been able to have one top 5 finish in the CEV Moto 3 classes, and at least he does have plenty of experience as a front runner in the Red Bull Rookies Cup. But it's a different class, it's a different style of racing in the Moto 3 Junior World Championship, and he's really having to just take it to these riders in front of him. He's the lone Honda in this group as well. We've got a Gas at the front, we've got a KTM in second, and then we've got the Honda in third, and very different styles needed on those bikes as well, Kiko. With the Honda, you try and carry that corner speed a lot more than the KTMs.
And that won't be so much of a challenge at Valencia, because there's a lot of corners that link in together, so the Honda should be strong. But at the same time, you're going up against Holgado, who's got vast experience, and Ortola, who in general is one of the fastest rookies this season. He's already had the pole position, don't forget, at Estoril. But at the moment, great from all three of them. They're not trying to put too many passes on, they're just following each other. And in a way, it's good. They're just letting the race come to them. You know, we've seen it already. 4th, 5th and 6th from a few laps ago have all crashed out. And you know, that's what's going to cost you a good result, you know, for the likes of those riders like David Alonso, who crashed out. You can't afford to do that in this class. It's too competitive.
Yeah, and patience is a virtue, especially in the Moto 3 classes in the early stages of racing. And see Diogo Moreira there, he half-wheeled down the inside. You see that's a lot in Moto 3 racing. You want to make sure that the other guy is aware that you're there, but he doesn't want to push the issue at this stage. Still plenty of time left. Big gap behind them, 2.5 seconds back to Matsuyama still. Matsuyama's done well to recover from his long lap penalty. Running inside the top 5, not a bad performance, not a bad weekend so far for Matsuyama. This will give him a lot of confidence going into race 2 as well this afternoon. As long as he's able to avoid trouble, he's going to feel that he's got a real chance of that first career podium today.
Exactly, it's a constant pace from Matsuyama. Unlucky for him with the long lap, but it was his own mistake. I presume it was a jump start. There has been no confirmation of exactly what it was. And it's nice actually to have a Moto3 race where there is a group of 3 at the front and there's a group of 3 for the battle for 4th place. Matsuyama obviously doing a great job at the moment, holding off both of the Munoz. And then as usual at the top of the screen there is that absolute train of Moto3 riders. With a long lap penalty for rider number 45. That is Clement Rouge, the ex-French Moto3 champion from 2016. As Jose Julian Garcia, don't go near him. Don't ask for an autograph now.
I'll tell you what. Jose Julian Garcia, he's going to be disappointed after that. He's one of the riders with the most experience in the class. I said on the grid, he's closing in on 50 starts in the class. Be interesting to see what happened, but certainly for Garcia, we saw this at times in the past. Inconsistency rather than a lack of speed was sometimes the issue for him. He does have World Championship experience though, Kiko, shown himself in this class as being one of those front runners over the last few years. He's going to bounce back from that. He's going to get the opportunity this afternoon to do that. But at the front of the field, you can still see here as we move into the final third of this race, Danny Holgado, he's led every corner all the way through this race so far. We haven't really seen Ivan Ortola try and make a move. We haven't seen Ortola try and change the pace. That's going to change in a few laps time though. He's going to have to try something.
The interesting dynamic here is, Steve, Ortola and Moreira will know roughly where Holgado is good. Holgado will not know where Ortola and Moreira have their strong points around this Valencia circuit. So when they pass him, I presume it will happen in the closing stages. It might not be long enough for Holgado to study where they're quick, and it might just be about where do I feel the best myself and then getting on with it.
I love the way you think there's going to be studying involved in the final.
Yeah, I like the way I'm thinking tactically, and these guys are just like, it's a corner, we'll go up here.
I think it's quite good that they're just able to sit in this group right now. Like you said, Kiko, we got 3 and 3. The Munoz is at the back of the second group, and certainly right now Matsuyama doing a good job to be able to hold his position, but now you're starting to see Holgado push on a little bit now as we move into the final third of the race. A little bit different into turn 1 there, Kiko.
Yeah, a little bit different into turn 1. This is the big group. This is the big battle on track. Adji's at the front of this, number 26 there as well. That's Scott Ogden, Britain, Scott Ogden. This is the 23 and 45. That's Clement Rouge. He's got to do the long lap for exceeding track limits.
What's interesting here is David Salvador from 16th on the grid. He was a podium man last time around in Estoril. He started on the front row in Estoril. He's had a really torrid weekend so far, but at least now he's got himself up into 7th, 8th position. If he's able to come away with decent points, that's what he has to do on the TM racing bike.
Salvage job and damage limitation is what Salvador needs, and that's not a bad approach to it at a round that he's struggling. I was just looking at the gap there, Steve. We've got a third of this race left to go. Matsuyama is 2 seconds off the back of Moreira. I don't think he's going to get there unless these guys really start battling hard. But he has taken about half a second out of them in the last 2 laps.
Yeah, around Valencia, it's very difficult to make up more than a few tenths of a second, but we have seen the pace of the front drop off quite a bit over the course of the last few laps. They've dropped off from the 39s down into the mid-40s. This is really when you start to just wind it back and then see where everyone is. And then in the final few laps, that's whenever you pull the pin, try and make your break. Danny Holgado, he's led all the way through this race, Kiko. You mentioned earlier on just about how the other guys were able to study him. They're able to look at what he's able to do. As it is right now as well, though, Danny Holgado may not have shown his true colours at this stage, and may not have shown his cards, because the pace right now at 7-8 tenths of a second slower than the fastest lap. They are just trying to get themselves through these few laps.
Exactly, and another thing is, we've said it already, Ortola and Moreira, yes, they're in the leading group, but they're not quite close enough to lamp a pass on Holgado. They're not going to send it from here into the lead. Moreira was backing it in, but they're just not close enough. Moreira just been dropped a little bit there. I don't know if he made a mistake into turn 1 and 2 and it's cost him at this point of the track, but they've not been quite close enough to make a move that's convicting enough that's going to see them stick in the lead.
You can see here in the second group, Matsuyama is trying to stretch this group out. David Munoz is going with him, but Daniel Munoz is just trying to make sure he's able to stick with them, pick up his first points of the season. For David Munoz on the 64, he was able to finish inside the top 5 last time out in Estoril. He's running inside the top 5 again. That was his first career top 5 finish. So a good consistent start to the season for Munoz. But this, Kiko, is really whenever we start to shift the focus onto the race leaders. This is where you can see for Danny Holgado on the 96, he is starting to push the pace now. That's why Diogo Moreira is dropping off a little bit at the back of this group. Obviously for Moreira, though, he'll be able to use the slipstream down the start-finish line and hopefully close that gap up again.
What are we seeing here? This is a slow-mo across the line.
Maybe this is what happened to Moreira as well into turn 1, Kiko.
Yeah, let's have a little study. Nothing too untoward yet. Does he miss the apex, lose the front? Let's have a look. No, nothing too dramatic happening there. This is Holgado. I mean, we're just seeing some beauties. And they are nice shots as well here, I must admit. Very, very nice.
It is very easy to lose a little bit of time into turn 1.
Yeah.
It's 4th gear for these Moto 3 bikes, full commitment, and you can lose just a 1/10 of a second quite easily through that section. Last time around, though, Diogo Moreira lost a couple of 1/10 of a second. He's now 6/10 of a second off the race leader, 4/10 of a second off Ortola. It is starting to stretch out now. We've got 4 laps to go. We've got Danny Holgado on the 96 leading the way, Ivan Ortola on the 24 up there in 2nd spot, and then Diogo Moreira on the 92. That's Gerard Riou. We saw Gerard have what could have been a pretty nasty crash, Kiko, up to turn 11.
Oh,
Danny
no!
Holgado
What
with a massive moment and able to save that. Holgado's going to have to try and latch onto the back of this group. He actually hasn't lost too much time, Kiko. He's still in this one. But for Danny Holgado, a massive save through turn 4. Very easy to lose it through that corner. You haven't been on the right side of the tyre in a long time. Can be a little bit greasy if you're off the line. Holgado, I'll tell you, that is one of the saves of the season.
We were out to see here, dear me, new leathers and new coconuts, I think, for Holgado.
This is what's happened.
So what's happened here is everyone is on the left-hand side of the tyre. They flick it right, asking for the bow. Normally you see the front go. He is absolutely riding it. Rodeo. Randy Mamola would be so impressed with that. Holgado, well, you know, that has really thrown a different dynamic now onto this race, because Ivan Ortola for the first time is leading and Diogo Moreira is now a believer. He's back in contention with 3 laps and a corner to go.
Yeah, for Diogo Moreira on the 92, he's suddenly got a chance now. He's never had a podium in CEV Moto 3 Junior World Championship action. Now he's got a chance of a race win. You can see Danny Holgado on the 96. He's now suddenly under pressure from Matsuyama on the number 32 machine as well. And it's going to be interesting to see just how much time Matsuyama can take out of Danny Holgado now. A real scare for Holgado.
Look at this.
Now we've just got a 2-rider battle for the race lead with 3 laps to go.
1.3 seconds is covering the top 4. It's about 1.3 covering the top 5. This is not over, Steve, with 3 laps to go. I can't believe that moment from Holgado has actually brought everyone into play. We've kind of got a battle for the lead and then a battle for 3rd. Matsuyama going for his first rostrum.
Let's see what Holgado does through turn 4 this time, if he's got any scars from that moment last time around. You can see there a little bit wide on the entry. That's opening the door a little bit for Matsuyama. Matsuyama's going to feel it. He's got a real chance now. He's looking for his first podium in Moto 3 action. He's got a real chance of that now. Ivan Ortola, second race in the Moto 3 Junior World Championship, out in front for Diogo Moreira, a Red Bull Rookies rider, lots of experience in that class, still trying to get his first podium. He's trying to get his first win in the Moto 3 Junior World Championship. Got 2.5 laps to go. Look at Matsuyama, Kiko, on the 32. He is hunting.
He's coming. Look at that. Moon eyes are absolutely climbing all over the 96. He's not going to try anything just yet, but he is going to size him up. It's all going to be about dress rehearsals here. Where is Holgado at his weakest? That's when Matsuyama will probably pounce, because Matsuyama, of course, he's had good pace. It's just that long lap penalty that has cost him any realistic chance at this victory. I say that now. Coming into more or less being one group. Here comes Matsuyama, just thinking about it.
Too far back for Matsuyama, but he knows he can get a bit of a run down the inside, and Danny Holgado there as well. We've got 2 laps to go here. We've got 8 kilometers left for these Moto 3 riders to get through. You can see here Ivan Ortola on the 24 out in front, but look at the 32 of Matsuyama. Is he going to try and make the move down the inside into turn 1? Makes that move on the brakes and able to get himself up into 3rd position. Danny Holgado just needs to keep himself calm, see if he's able to get himself back up into those podium spots.
And he is.
5 riders now really very much in with a shot at winning this race. We've got 2 laps to go, Kiko. I'm not not too keen on putting my money on the line.
It's the leading group. I can't believe it. We've had a whole race of 3 of them going at it, and now the front 5. And do you know what's going to be so annoying for the riders like Jose Houdin, Garcia, David Alonso and Joel Kelso? They would have been a part of this, probably. They would have been right there.
Oh, and you can see Holgado running
green.
wide, but he's set it up down the inside now into the left-hander, able to take that 3rd spot back. And for Danny Holgado, he's now settled himself down. He's now given himself a chance of still being able to win this race. He led pretty much all of this race, but now he needs to really dig in, get himself into a fighting spirit for these final lap and a half. You can see all these riders, Kiko, they all think the same. I've got a chance. You look at Munoz at the back of this group. Estoril was his first ever top 5 finish. He thinks now he's got a real chance of being able to pull Moreira down the inside into the double right-hander, able to take the lead. Holgado once again attacking. So Danny Holgado's now got no ill effects of that near crash at turn 4. He's really regrouped, giving himself a chance. All about who's able to pick up that slipstream into turn 1 now, Kiko.
And that is going to be so annoying for Ortola, you know. He's running his own pace at the front with a lap and a half to go, and he's just been pushed back not 1 but 2 places. He's got to do double the work.
Holgado down the inside to retake this race lead. We've got 5 riders in the lead group. We've got 6 riders in the lead group as Munoz has managed to latch onto the back of it. Look at Diogo Moreira. A lot of almost contact across the line there. You can see Holgado looking across. Moreira's going to try and make the move into the lead, but Matsuyama using that Honda really well to take the lead round the outside. Ivan Ortola on the 24 puts himself into position. Kiko, is anyone going to be able to make last lap moves? Where can they do it?
Here, Holgado through into 2nd. That's turn 2. That's one of the passing places done. And Moreira pushed out Ortola onto the berm. He's out on the green. And now Moreira, is he going to go for 2nd? No, not this time. But one of the Munoz does. That's the number 17. Out front, it's Matsuyama. Now, Matsuyama, he has not been in a race-winning position in his entire career in the CEV Moto3 class. He knows Holgado is the rider to beat, and Holgado is the one chasing. Ortola, he was leading a lap ago, and he almost blew it there. He's almost out the front door. Now it's on the green. It's obviously 6th place for him. Barinax have got at the front. Matsuyama is leading this from Moreira. This could be a dream for Matsuyama. Is this going to be enough, Steve? We are just about halfway from home.
Matsuyama on the 32. He's opened a little bit of a gap. Holgado's going to need to attack back on Moreira. Not able to make it into the double right eye. He sends it down the inside. Comes from a mile back to make that move. He's now got a chance to get a run on the 32 of Matsuyama. He is close enough to try and make a move down the inside into the last corner, but he needs to really commit through these next 2 corners. Let's see if the 96 of Danny Holgado, he's led pretty much all this race. He's going to have to try and take that tight line down the inside into the last corner. Matsuyama tries to be defensive, but you can see Holgado's going to try and get down the inside. Now he needs to just run it a little bit wide. Forces Matsuyama off the track. Holgado's going to be able to lead into the final straight, but look at Diogo Moreira. We've got 3 riders trying to take this. It is Danny Holgado on the 96 that recovers from that massive moment a few laps ago to take his 2nd victory of the season. Matsuyama's recovered from a long lap penalty to take 20 points in 2nd spot. Diogo Moreira finally able to take his first CEV Moto3 Junior World Championship podium. What a race, Kiko.
What a race. 800ths of a second covering the top 3. That could have gone any which way. Matsuyama 2nd, first podium for him, first Japanese podium in about 2 years, and the first Brazilian podium there for Moreira in 3rd. Just looking down the order, Munoz, Daniel and David 4th and 5th. Ivan Ortola stayed on for 6th. Colin Viger there in 7th. Mario Aggi 8th. Salvador and Rueda completing the top 10 from an absolute corker. What a way to get our CEV day underway.
Yeah, it was a slow burner in the early stages of this race. The riders just trying to keep their powder dry as they learned the track conditions after morning rain. But as the race wore on into that final 3rd, we saw everyone take the gloves off, get a real battle on their hands. Danny Holgado had a massive moment with about 4 laps to go. Was able to regroup, able to put himself into a position to try and attack once again, but to be able to take that race win, made 2 moves in the last half of the race to be able to, last half of the lap, to be able to get himself down the inside of Diego Moreira and then also do the same on Takuma Matsuyama. Really impressive stuff from Holgado. He was the race winner in Estoril. He won last week in the Red Bull Rookies Cup at Jerez, and now he's been able to back that up with a race victory here in Valencia as well. You can see there Matsuyama taking the long lap penalty again. Don't think he's going to mind it as much this time as he did in the early stages of the race. For Diogo Moreira, he's had 3 podiums in the Red Bull Rookies Cup so far this season. He's looked fast all the way through the Rookies early rounds in Portimao and Jerez. Now he's looked fast in the Moto3 Junior World Championship as well. That is his first career podium for the former ETC rider, and he's been able to step it up once again this season. His talent was never in doubt, but to be able to pick up that first podium, now it really is a case of what he's able to do to kick on from that in race 2 later on this afternoon in a few hours' time. You can see for Danny Delgado there as he makes his way back to the pits. 50 points out of 50 in these opening 2 races of the year. I don't know what he's doing there to try and make some sort of a note to someone from his team down there as well, potentially. But for Danny Delgado, really impressive performance. He kept a cool head all the way through. A few years ago, he came here as an absolute rookie in the Moto3 Junior World Championship and put it on the podium on his debut weekend. It's taken him a bit of time to be able to pick up those race victories, but now that he started winning, he doesn't look like a man that wants to stop winning on that gas Aspar machine. And certainly for Delgado, he's taking the time to get himself back to the pits, probably because he didn't think he was going to be in a position to do that after that massive moment that he had at turn 4 with about 4 laps to go. But that last half a lap really did show all the mettle that you need to be able to make it to the front of the field. Looks like a real talent. We always tend to see that in the Moto3 Junior World Championship. Lots of great riders have come through this championship in the past. If you think back at even just the past race winners here in Valencia, the likes of Brad Binder, the likes of Alberto Arenas, both of them Moto3 World Champions. We've had Raul Fernandez win races here, Pedro Acosta. We've had Fabio Quartararo won 4 in a row here in Valencia, and it has always been one of those tracks that's been able to separate a lot of these riders out. And for Danny Delgado and the Aspar team, they're going to have plenty to celebrate from this race, but they'll also know there's still work to be done. There's another race in a few hours' time for them. Delgado actually looks quite calm down there in Parc Fermé as well. The emotions that we saw last time out in Estoril when he picked up his first race victory, now almost for a rider, this is when it starts to change. This is when you expect to be winning races, but for Delgado, this really was a cool head all the way through the closing stages to be able to time the moves to perfection. You can see for Diogo Moreira on the podium for the first time, and that Monlau team always turning out competitive machinery. Lots of times in the past they've been able to battle it out for championships. Is Moreira going to be the rider that steps it up for them this season on the Honda, alongside the likes of Matsuyama as well there down in Parc Fermé on the number 32 machine, able to pick up his first career podium in the Moto3 Junior World Championship? And he had to do it after coming back all the way through the field after that long lap penalty as well. He dropped down the order back of the second group, was able to bridge the gap back up to the race leaders and able to come away with a podium. Probably didn't think he was going to get that at the halfway stage of the race, but he was able to keep a cool head, keep himself composed and get himself up into the lead battle. You can see for the Aspar team there, they're well used to being able to get themselves down into Parc Fermé. But for Danny Delgado, that race victory comes on the back of this 4-way scrap into the last corner, just gets himself down the inside and then forces Matsuyama out wide. You can see there they make contact on the run out of that last corner, and that just takes away the momentum for Matsuyama. That's what opens the door for Moreira to try and use that slipstream, but Danny Delgado able to make sure that he's able to take the race win. Matsuyama ends up with 20 points for second, and Diogo Moreira takes that podium spot as well. There was only 0.08 of a second separating the podium finishers, and that was the difference between winning this race and losing it. But certainly for Danny Delgado, he made sure that he was in a position to still claim that race victory all the way through after that big moment. Always impressive in the Moto3 Junior World Championship to see the kind of racecraft that these riders have as well. We're always expecting them to make the step up to the Moto3 World Championship. The riders that are stars in the ETC in the Moto3 Junior World Championship, they're the riders that do come through to challenge for all the honours in the Grand Prix paddock as well. And certainly it's moments like this that you do tend to separate yourself out. We're going to get the opportunity to hear from our race winner, Danny Delgado. He's down in Parc Fermé.